I'm a materials-led artist. I'm very inspired by what I find. It's the finding the treasure, finding something worthless, and then making it something precious is really important to me. And it's the old ephemera, the old things that you find that have that worn patina that suggests it's already had a life and a bit of a story, and it's sort of recycling, and that storytelling from what I find is really part of the main part of my work. Well, I live in Wivenhoe, which is an old sort of fishing port. I live on the old shipyard, Cook's shipyard. Before you even get into my studio, you can walk along and realise that I like, quite a lot of old rubbish, really. My fishermen friends who moor up outside my kitchen window, they also know I like a little bit of rubbish. And Rodney, my friend, who has a boat out here, when I first moved, he was bringing me a piece of the Mary Rose every 5 minutes, and I don't think it was the Mary Rose at all, but that's what he said it was, and I believe him. So I'd got propellers, and there's part of an old buoy with some coal embedded into it, and he's brought me such treasures that I absolutely love, and so I curate it for everybody to walk past outside. And it's not really a garden, it's more of a kind of mad dumping ground of detritus from the sea, but it's all sorts of things have come floating my way. My first foray into the bookworks was Facebook. I got onto Facebook about 10 years ago, and I just didn't understand it. Who do you like? Who do you not like? It was just mind-boggling to me. So I matched the title of a book to a face or faces, some found ephemera or something, and create a kind of slant on the stupid things you see on Facebook. So, what you had for lunch, and who's talking to who's not talking to who. I call it the hardback version of social media. And I've got people who just drop off sets of encyclopaedias to me now, and the odd book. And a lot of people know that I've got, quite a naughty sense of humour. So a good pithy title with a bit of a naughty edge is perfect. Somebody dropped down Casanova the other day, which I'm very much looking forward to getting into, working into, not reading. People loved them because they were visually beautiful, but then quite shocked at some of the silly things that I was writing on there. So I started to make what I call picture books, and they are taking again the title of a book and then illustrating it with the collage. So there are some beautiful titles of books that sort of take you off into a reverie of wherever you can imagine. Some dark, some light and pretty. But I like to have a sort of a charming and a playful sort of element to the work. So the naughty side got suppressed, but then the playful side hopefully always remains. Once you have a title, then I go to the ephemera, and I have files full of everything from animals to zoology, magic to landscapes. It's all there. So I just sort of go to the filing cabinet, find all the right stuff, and then start building up this kind of story in layers throughout the pages in the book. All of my bookworks have a deep aperture cut into them. Sometimes it's the face of the book, or sometimes it's an open spread book. Those are sort of laser cut to quite a depth, and then it sort of builds up this 3D kind of picture. They're like little dioramas or theatres, rather like those cardboard theatres you used to get as kids, and sort of I feel like I'm sneaking in scenery from stage left and stage right here and there. The record covers came about as a commission. It was just me sort of moving into a different form of starting point, really. And they've proved really popular because there's a huge amount of nostalgia around records, and as there is with books, but the nostalgia of records is really caught that sort of second wave of how vinyls are really, really kind of starting to be something that's prized and revisited. Quite often they're commissions, but I produce prints as well of all of my work. So that it has a sort of a longevity of life, because everything takes an awfully long time to cut up in the first place, and then to arrange, and then it's a huge investment of time, and investing in time to make something relatively throwaway and worthless into something quite precious and fragile. The alphabetical encyclopaedias came about because actually a former colleague of mine brought along a whole set of encyclopaedias, and they had beautiful black and white illustrations inside. And with my love of recycling anything and repurposing things, I ended up cutting out loads and loads of these gorgeous illustrations. And I feel like I recycle other artists of yesteryear. I feel like I'm recycling their work as well as just sort of chopping out quite nice pictures and illustrations. And I mean, they're just lost in these books that are redundant, completely redundant, because as soon as they're printed, they're out of date. And I started off by opening the pages at a pertinent page, tended to be in the middle of the book. Started off with A as for alphabet, started off as animals in an alphabetical sort of order, collaging in order and making order out of chaos. I love that. It's got a lovely kind of, it's part of the work that I really liked, sort of curating really all these collaged pieces into one final piece. So A for alphabet started me off, and then I thought, well, I could do B for birds, and then it was C for children, and now I'm hooked. I'm doing the whole alphabet. But they've been incredibly popular, and people then approach me with commissions for a colourful B for birds or a colourful I for insects, and so it's I'm slowly trying to get through to Z, but at the moment I'm sort of being held back, and I'm just working on another one, A is for animals, quite soon as well. So I am trying to get through the whole alphabet. I came across this box of beautiful old letters. Some of them date back to late 1800s. It's all about treasure hunting, being inspired, seeing the potential in something. Sometimes I don't know what the potential is going to be for a long while. I mean, the letters I must have had for 3 or 4 years. I did a webinar at the beginning and did a little workshop, and I just made a throwaway comment that I was going to do these lockdown letters, and then I got so many people asking me, when are you going to make them? So I actually had to put my money where my mouth was. And so I started. It was great because it meant it was something achievable in a day. The books take a long, 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 long time to come together. But for me, it just meant that I could make something small, achievable, original, and then post online. And they were, I'm addicted to Radio 4. It's got to be on in the background all the time. I can't work without it. And of course, you've got this flypaper mind of pieces that we're all living through, and it's sort of filtered through the radio. And so talking about everybody baking, people noticing nature, people missing sport events, theatre, all of those sorts of things. So it gave me small snippets of work that could keep me going, and also they kept other people going. I had so many lovely responses. I love waking up every day and knowing that there's going to be an Instagram letter to look at and maybe reflect what other people are going through. A lot of the letters were from America, and in fact the majority were from America, and they had lovely titles like Liberty Street and Cackle and Crow. which was, some sort of business to do with shows for birds and poultry and stuff. And many of those letters were actually love letters between a guy called Albert Schumacher and Miss Fanny Brown, which I can't say without doing the Miss Fanny Brown accent, because it just sounds delightful. And they must have written to each other every day. So I've got nearly every date going between about 1893 to 1920. So that the whole family must have kept loads and loads of letters. But these, there's only one, though, with Mrs. Schumacher on it. And quite sweet to think that there was no need for this constant kind of keeping in touch. But yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely. I am definitely a curator of crap. Can we say crap? I think we can say crap. Yeah.